Hello, this is Purge, bringing you guys a coaching session, more or less. I had this replay submitted to me by a fan. I think I might start doing these regularly. It's just a replay from a fan. They wanted, let me read part of the message here. I'm still having trouble improving, and I'm hovering around the 2K MMR bracket. Got a link to their Dota buff, and they gave a match listing, and they are asking for their perspective to be covered. So I'm going to cover their perspective. I'm going to talk about things they do well, things they do poorly, and areas to improve. So it's a 2K MMR game. They're the Windrunner in this game. Velo is the person's tag, if that's how you pronounce it. And we can hop into the full screen and go over things. So, all right. Let's start things off with item build. So I'll speed things up a little bit. This looks pretty good for starting items. 2 ironwood branches maybe would be the best. Yeah, that's perfect. This is basically what I would get on a Wind Ranger as well. Wind Ranger isn't really a great offlane hero by any means because she's pretty weak. She has to get a ring of protection because her armor is so low, and even then your base strength is quite low, so you're not exactly the best offlane hero. Wind Ranger is viable as a mid hero, not as good as some other mids, but she can be played there. He should be down here attacking, I think, a little bit more. Oh, it's 3 heroes. Okay, maybe that will be a little bit tough. I would still be attacking there. That's good. Should have done more attack moving there. Probably wouldn't have a kill, but could have attacked the anti-mage just a few more times. So either way, that was alright. That wasn't that big of a deal. Yeah, it looks like it's potentially a roaming Marana or something like that. First things first, important things to do. Turn your Basilius off. That's really important because that means that these creeps have 2 extra or 3 extra armor. 2 extra armor, and they're pushing the creep wave, and you don't really want to do that. You always want the creep wave to push towards you. So this is a small mistake, but it's actually very big. You might think it's small because you're like, oh, you just forgot to do this one little thing. Well, giving your creeps that much armor means that your chances of getting experience are a little bit worse. Now, it has been made better. This could be a CM kill, maybe. I actually would have started trading. Like, this is a big factor towards, like, well, this is a big factor towards any game, basically, is that you need to be able to outplay your opponents. You have to realize when your opponents are vulnerable and when they're not vulnerable. So right here, for example, when the CM got baited, or basically got collapsed on by the creeps, I didn't even tell this because the player perspective didn't click on the hero. But you can click on Crystal Maiden and say, oh, she doesn't have any mana. She's only got 50 mana. It costs her about 100 to cast either spell, and there's 3 creeps hitting her. What the player did is he ran away because CM was being aggressive. What you really have to do is recognize that person's vulnerabilities and you start hitting. Because it's not just you hitting her. Like, you do quite a bit more damage than her. CM only does 50 or 40 damage. You do 58, and she has the same armor as you because of her ring of protection. But the difference is that you also had creeps that were hitting her. So that should have been a CM kill here. That's a game sense issue. You should be able to figure out when your character is stronger than their character, basically. So they would have at least 1 kill here. Because I think that CM 100% would have died, especially if the bottom would have maybe leapt forward. She doesn't have leap yet, but if she would have been able to pressure him. So last hitting is going semi-okay. Ring of Basilius should still be turned off. That's really important. Like, honestly, a lot of MMR issues come down to game sense, not understanding when your opponent is more or less vulnerable than you. You shouldn't let if you're playing offlane, you shouldn't let somebody hit you this many times without trading. It should never happen. Happens about here. Now, part of it is vulnerabilities with the creep wave. If we look at a creep, they have a small AoE around them. Let's take the range creep, for example. His aggro range is something like this. So if you attack an enemy hero within this AoE, the creep will start attacking you. For range creeps, that's kind of a big deal because they attack you right away. For melee creep, it's not as big of a deal because if they move to attack you, they don't attack you until they get in melee range. So what you can do is you can aggro them to you, but then you can spam left A-click on your creeps to deny the aggro, to de-aggro. And if you do this, they'll run at you, but then they'll run away again. And this is something I had a lot of trouble with when I first got good at harassing. And by got good, I meant was like, oh, I need to right-click my opponents a lot. Well, what ended up happening would be I'd be playing a hero like Witch Doctor who has low armor, and I'd right-click the hell out of my opponents, but I'd be taking equal damage from the creep wave. So you have to attack on and off in a way that helps you aggro the creep, not aggro the creeps. Or if you do aggro the creeps, you de-aggro right away. Because otherwise the harass you're doing is being completely offset by the creeps, the creep damage. So by learning to do that, you can probably do it in a bot game or something like that. Practice harassing your melee opponent without letting the creeps hit you. Yeah, maybe they'll run after you, but then you pull back and you do it again. So, and even then, doing that is sometimes the wrong option. In this game, it's right, because the anti-mage only had one set of regen. But you have to understand if your opponent's about to get a major regen item. If you do all this harass, like for example, Meepo is a really good example. If you're 1v1 versus a Meepo, and you harass the hell out of him, and then he hits level 3, he'll spawn a new Meepo, and then he'll run his Meepo that's almost dead back to base to heal it. And then all that harass you did basically did nothing. You should have been focusing more on denying and last hitting instead. That would have been the better move in a case like that. Or if somebody's about to buy a Ring of Health from the side shop, do you really want to harass the hell out of him? If it's a Bloodseeker and there's no way that you can stop him from getting last hits when he actually wants to get last hits, then maybe you shouldn't be harassing. Maybe you should just try to mess up his last hitting as much as possible, for example. These are all things that you might have to think about when you're harassing. In this case, though, it was good for him to harass, for the Wind Ranger to harass, because both of these guys are very weak. One Tango on Anti-Mage, one Tango on Crystal Maiden. Crystal Maiden also doesn't have mana, because she stupidly didn't bring a Clarity, and she also didn't get level 2 in the jungle before shifting over. Both things that she should have done. So yeah, the harassment is really important, and also noticing when your opponents are weak is really, really important, because it basically gives you openings to killing them. And you might just look at these games and be like, wow, the Wind Ranger did everything that she could. She harassed them. She went for kills. This is also bad. She put herself out of position. That was the moment I actually wanted to look at, so let's speed up to that again. This is a positioning error by the Wind Ranger, basically, right here. She moved up here so that she could potentially poke the Anti-Mage, and I understand the desire to do that, but her positioning is not very safe here. Because right now, Crystal Maiden can right-click the Wind Ranger at full safety, knowing that if I right-click him, the Wind Ranger is going to get hit. And if Wind Ranger attacks Crystal Maiden, he's getting attacked by Crystal Maiden, and he's also getting attacked by these 3 creeps here. These are all going to aggro to him because they're within the AoE, basically. They're within, like, this AoE here. So from each of these creeps, they'll be within the AoE. So if she attacks the Crystal Maiden, then these creeps will aggro to her, and the Crystal Maiden will aggro to her, which means that she is taking more net damage. Same thing with when the Crystal Maiden was over here, and the 3 creeps were right here. Wind Ranger attacking Crystal Maiden with those creeps there would have net her a damage advantage, and that's what harassment's all about. It's all about doing more damage to your opponents than you are taking. But sometimes creeps come into that, and that's also really important in the mid lane when you're like basically doing a do or die 1v1, where you're like, I'm going to try to kill you no matter what. Well, sometimes if there's creeps factored in it, you have to take that into account. For Bloodseeker, for example, he's got a stout shield, so creeps hitting him do quite a bit less damage on a decent percentage, 50% chance to basically do no damage. So if he's getting hit by 2 creeps, but he's hitting a squishy hero like Crystal Maiden, who doesn't have very much armor, doesn't have much HP, and doesn't have damage block, then it's fine for Bloodseeker to tank a creep or 2, or maybe even a tower. But for Wind Ranger, it's not really something you can afford to do. Your HP's not that high, your armor's not that amazing. So taking disadvantageous trades is really bad here, and it's hurting the Wind Ranger a lot. It may not end up coming into play, but if you're trying to zone out your opponents and you see weakness, which there is weakness here, this is a great game for harassing your opponents out, because their opponents are poor enough of players, they're bad players, to the fact that they only got 1 set of regen. For Crystal Maiden, that's excusable because you're a support, you can get away with that sometimes. Anti-Mage, you can't do that. You have to go stout with a salve. It's not safe to just go a tango stack, because now he basically can't last it until he gets the salve. So it's really good that Wind Ranger was harassing, but if Wind Ranger's knowledge of proper harassment was better, it would put you in a better place. So the place Wind Ranger should have been this whole time while harassing is probably down here. I would have pressured from here, because then at most you're aggroing 1 range creep. And it also prevents the Anti-Mage from farming at the same thing. Let's imagine Wind Ranger's attack range is an area that Anti-Mage can't get close to. If you look at where Wind Ranger is right now, the range is like here. This means that Anti-Mage can basically stand right here and still get experience. If Wind Ranger stands here, not only are the creeps farther away from Wind Ranger, which means they're less likely to aggro, but also means that Anti-Mage's safe point is maybe over here somewhere. Which means that if Wind Ranger wants to pressure the kill, she can just move up and cut him off, which means his exit is also blocked. So this is stuff that I honestly never think about, but you just learn it by playing enough Dota, basically. You kind of think like, where am I a threat? Where am I close to creeps? What feels safe? But you can also jumpstart that and get better at it by thinking about it more like we're talking about now. Think about where your opponents are harassing from. Think about where you're going to aggro creeps. And also practice aggroing the creeps and then de-aggroing the creeps. Or what I would do if I was right here, I would attack the Crystal Maiden once. It would probably aggro this creep, and then I would walk away. So you aggro and then walk away. And at some point the creeps will de-aggro because you're not attacking them, and your lane creeps are attacking them, is what would happen. And then you go back and you do it again. Crystal Maiden's attack range is not quite as good as Wind Ranger's as well, so you can definitely pressure like that, and you're a little bit faster, 295 versus 280 movement speed, and if you really get into a bad situation, you've also got Wind Run. Not something you want to burn though, it's very mana expensive for Wind Ranger. So we can continue the game, now that we've talked the hell out of zoning. So let's see if Wind Ranger can do a little bit better on that. Focusing on last hitting is definitely the thing to do. Should have gotten that last hit, no excuse. Should be hitting the Crystal Maiden right here. And you should have started a lot earlier. You have to be faster with those reactions, because it adds up for damage. Watch, Crystal Maiden comes forward, right here. That's where you start attacking her. Alright, she jumped a little bit because of the replay thing, but she was like right here. This is the perfect time to harass. You never want to be next to a creep wave that is about to die. Never, 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 because that means that creeps are about to hit you, and if somebody has a disable, you just die. If Wind Ranger had a typical disable here, the Crystal Maiden easily would die right here. Like, the Crystal Maiden is making handfuls and handfuls of positioning mistakes that you can profit from, but Velo here is not profiting from them. Like, the time that here's when he starts attacking. He attacks the deny, he gets the deny, he runs away a little bit, and then he starts attacking the Crystal Maiden. I would much rather, I mean, you could maybe excuse him for getting the deny, because getting the deny is pretty valuable, but this is a kill right here, in my opinion. You could easily get this kill on the Crystal Maiden, especially with the Mirana here. Mirana should have leap, and Mirana should also be right-clicking. He's focusing way too much on just going for blind arrow, or for like glory arrows. What he should be doing is adding his right-click to the Wind Rangers and easily killing the out-of-position Crystal Maidens. If he had leap right now, and he had been moving around, he could be here. They could easily get a kill. They could both walk out and right-click the Crystal Maiden. There's nothing Anti-Mage can do about it. They don't even need to land the arrow. They could actually just chase her down. So he should have attacked the Crystal Maiden a little bit earlier. He shoots the arrow. Crystal Maiden's tanking creeps now, which is really bad for Crystal Maiden. He got the power shot, but I think she's going to live. And he also used Wind Run for this, which means he's going to maybe trade with... Oh, we should have attacked her. Well, can you kill this guy at least? Okay, they got the Anti-Mage release, but this is ridiculous. None of this should happen. Like, all the players in this game are really messing up really bad. And it's literally just lane mistakes that would make the difference between Wind Ranger having like a triple kill right now and not. Like, that is literally the difference. Like, I haven't even gotten into the meat of Dota 2 yet. But I already know for a fact that Velo deserves to be at this MMR. It's because the strategy that she's trying, or that he's trying right now, is lane pressure and trying to outlane your opponents. And if you're not super good at outlaning, then you're never going to get that advantage in a Dota game. And if you're never going to get that advantage in a Dota game, then it means that there's some games that you just aren't going to win. Like, or at least, like, if they have a lineup that's really punishable early. And this is one of them. They have a dual range in offlane. They should be able to crap on this dual lane completely, especially because they only brought one Tango. But because they're not quite exploiting that right, they do end up killing the Anti-Mage, which is ridiculous. But they do end up getting some advantage out of the exploit, but it's only going to do so much. So, also, let's watch the attacking of Wind Ranger. She's actually standing still. This is wrong. What she should realize is Crystal Maiden is way out of position, and it's time to kill her. So what Wind Ranger needs to do, and this again comes down to game sense, you have to say, all right, I think she's completely out of position now. We can. That was the arrow from before. I think that was just a bug. Yeah. Right here. Boom. Crystal Maiden's out of position. I'll play it from 2.5 speed. You attack her once. You say, okay, she's out of position. And then you walk here. And she could be here right now. And then she attacks again. She attacks again. And then she walks to here. And then she attacks again. And then she walks to here. Right now... Oops. Pause. I need a button for that. Right now, the Wind Ranger could be positioned right here. If she would have realized that Crystal Maiden was in danger, instead of reacting to Crystal Maiden reacting to that, because Wind Ranger basically said like, oh, Crystal Maiden's in danger, I need to kill her. Well, if you did attack moving, you could be positioned right here right now, and you wouldn't even have to use Power Shot to kill the Crystal Maiden. Now, Wind Ranger has to use Power Shot because her attack range is about here, and the arrow missed. But if she just attack moved a little bit and recognized the fact that Crystal Maiden was out of position, Wind Ranger would be standing right here right now, and Crystal Maiden would be attacked 2, maybe 3 more times, and she would have died. Wouldn't have even had to use Power Shot, could have saved Power Shot for the Anti-Mage. And also kept you in very, very safe mana position. That would have saved like 90 mana, because now she has to Power Shot. And she had used Wind Run just to catch up. She didn't even get to use it for defensive purposes. Here comes the power shot, but it's not going to kill. Healed just a little bit too much. 90 damage, and she has 20 left. And, yeah. Wind Run's after her. But these are all mistakes because she didn't properly recognize if her opponent would be in danger. And then Wind Ranger got a little too scared, in my opinion, about the anti-mage coming forward. I mean, then he died. That was just really stupid. But do you see how big this stuff is? Like, we've literally watched 2 minutes of gameplay, and I can guarantee that Wind Ranger should have a double kill or a triple kill already. Or at least, like, way more kills than she does. She got the 1 kill at the bounty rune, and that was good, but, like, easily could have outplayed her opponents. She had way more regen than them, but her lane mechanics are just not good. She doesn't understand why the lane mechanics should be in their favor, and it's because of not recognizing threats. That is literally everything about laning stage. You literally need to recognize when your opponent is out of position, when you're out of position to do more damage to your opponent than they can do to you. Check to see if you have more regen. Excuse me. Check to see if you have more regen, because if you have more regen, then you're fine trading 1 for 1. If you don't have more regen, you're only happy to trade in advantageous situations. These are the most advantageous situations you can have. When all of your creeps are up and about to push, you stun them next to the creep wave, the creeps hit them, you hit them. That's a really good trade. Them getting hit under tower is really good as well, if that's an opportunity. You having more heroes attacking them, you can check their damage values, you can check your damage values. You should generally know which heroes are better at hitting 1v1. Like, for example, one of the best heroes hitting 1v1, Ogre Magi. You can't deal with Ogre. He has like 7 armor at level 1 if he gets 1 stat point, like an Ironwood branch. And he has a really good animation, and he has really high base damage. Ogre is one of the best 1v1 heroes because he just doesn't take any damage, and he still deals out really good damage. What's a really bad 1v1 hero? Crystal Maiden. She does 40 damage, she has 2 armor. Shadow Fiend's probably similar. I'm not sure what his base armor is, but Shadow Fiend also has really poor base damage, so 1v1ing him is really easy. You got to know these kind of things. Understand who's the better 1v1 hero. And that way you can further understand when the trades are viable, basically. So trading in lane is so important. It's such a basic aspect, and it's something that you need to know, because if you don't understand it, you don't understand what you can abuse. Now, Potom at this point should have shifted down here, and she should have done a side pull on the large camp here. Pull the large camp to the left when your creeps are right here, right at the tower. Right when they're at the tower, you walk a little closer, you eat the tango, and you aggro these creeps, and you run straight left. And then this creep wave goes over here, and then 1 or 2 of the creeps might die, but most importantly, you'll also get the experience and the gold from a Hellbear Smasher camp, which will give you a little bit of a level advantage. One of the nice things that you get from playing Radiant in the offlane. So that's really important. Wind Ranger here is trying to pressure the anti-mage. The best thing that she could do right now is just deny the creeps. Harassing the anti-mage you can't really do because he'd attack you back. Or because the tower would eventually attack you, but okay, that's just a dead anti-mage. Again, attack moving. Alright, this has just gotten ridiculous. That is another kill. Another kill, lost 100%. As soon as he blinks forward, you know you messed up, you're going to die. Because when an anti-mage blinks, he can't blink for another 12 seconds. It's that simple. So the fact that he blinked forward was ridiculous. This is another opportunity that she wasted. Did a great job attacking him here. This is all good, but as soon as he blinks, dead hero. Boom, dead hero. You immediately say, you blinked aggressively, you're stupid, and I have a creep wave here, which are all hitting you. You attack, you move. You attack, you move. You attack, you move. Let's see if there's any of that happening. Attack, no move. Could be standing right here. Attack, you move. Could be standing right here. And then you attack him, and then you attack him again. Dead hero. Instead, Wind Ranger stood in place, kept auto-attacking, didn't get the kill. Attack moving is actually so big. When I first played Heroes of the Storm, I obviously knew about attack moving because I played a lot of Dota, and most people just don't get it, but it's a damage increase. You're literally keeping yourself closer to your opponent, you're getting more damage out of things, and it gave me a stupidly big advantage over all the other new players that I played with because they didn't understand attack moving. Like, they literally just didn't get it. They would right-click their opponent and take their hands off the keyboard and be like, well, hope I kill him. And that's not good because it's multiple reasons. First of all, you're getting more damage. But it's not only that, you're also being able to react to how they move. And it's mostly for juking. Think about juking in trees or something, like juking in here. If you just continuously attack your opponent from maximum range, the only reason you want to do that is if they're about to die. If they're not about to die, you want to stay as close to them as possible because it gives you more information. You'll better be able to react to if they run left, if they run right. If you stay at max range and you continuously attack them, by the time you get there, they might have already started their TP for like a second and a half. If you're standing right next to them, they don't have that option. You almost always want to stay right next to your opponent when you're chasing them because it helps you have more choices, and in this case, you get way more auto attacks. This was another kill that was wasted by the Wind Ranger that she could have. She could be like 4-0 in the offlane right now, easily 4-0, plus her last hitting could have been much better. Obviously, this is a low-level game, so CS is very poor, but easily could have had like 4 kills here. I pretty much guarantee you that I could play at this MMR level, and I could not last hit a single creep, and I could own the entire game. Just because my knowledge of lane mechanics and zoning and 1v1s and damage trading is far better than these players. All because I know that I can harass better than them and that'll make better decisions. Because Dota is almost entirely about decision making, and the decision making comes from your experience or the things that you understand about the game and the mechanics. But very, very easy kill here. Anti-Mage easily should have died 100%. That was the biggest gimme I've ever seen. If an Anti-Mage ever blinks aggressively on you, and you have more damage than him, in the next 12 seconds, you just kill him. It's pretty simple, really. Just kill him. So that definitely should have been a kill. Make sure you attack move. If you don't know how to attack move, go practice. Open up a custom game, like just an empty lobby. Go against some neutral camps, and what you should basically do is you attack them, pull them out, and then you stay with them. Attack move, attack move, attack move, until they're all dead without taking any creep damage. It's basically like you're kiting. Like, when you attack move, you always get to choose what direction you go. You can attack and run away. You can attack and run away, attack and run away endlessly. That works as well. You can do that on a hero like Sniper. That's a good example of a hero that wants to do that. You don't want to be close to your opponent. If you're jungling and you don't have a lot of tank or regen or lifesteal, then you don't want these to attack you either. You don't just stand here and attack them as a ranged hero. You attack them, you walk away, you attack, you walk away. You do slightly less DPS or damage, but the important part is they're not attacking the whole time. So that's really important to do. It's super important to do. If you guys can't do that, you need to learn, because it honestly completely changes how much damage you can do to your opponents when they get into a bad situation. And it also completely changes what your positioning is. Instead of being forced to land these super long range power shots that your opponent can easily juke, you can instead just kill them by attacking them. You save mana. That gives you more mana to do things later. It's like a compounding effect. It's a super compounding effect. So for now, they have pretty big lane control. There's no mana on the Wind Ranger because she used all of her mana doing power shots. She easily could have casted a shackle there to latch him to the trees. And if Wind Ranger would have done that, then it would have been a super easy kill here. So what Wind Ranger should do right now is push this creep wave out because they want to get Pudge out if possible. He's going to find the Crystal Maiden. He probably will kill her, or at least get very low. Yeah, that's a dead CM. I mean, that's a fine gank from Pudge. He shouldn't have left the trees. I think this is getting kind of dangerous. Yeah, he really messed up there. Zero reason for him to leave the trees when there's no creep wave. The Wind Ranger was pushing out the wave. And once the creeps get under the tower, then Pudge should escape. Or he should have sat back up here and bottled up a little bit more. That way he was full HP. And he also just kind of tried to run away from the anti-mage. He probably should have just ran straight at him and tried to kill him. I think that would have been better as well. Oops, sped down the game a little bit. So Bloodseeker hitting Wind Ranger, no problem here. And that was kind of the point to leave, I think. Yeah, he doesn't bottle her. He gave her a Tango, I guess, but... Anti-Mage blinks back again, but unfortunately he got this Ring of Health because he killed the Pudge. He got like a lot of gold out of that, about 400. Back to last hitting. It seems like Wind Ranger's last hitting is a little bit better than people at her MMRs, which is good. But it could always be much, much better. In reality, you should be able to get 50 CS by the 10-minute mark, even if you're in the offlane, especially because she was in a position where she could last hit freely. Now it's a little bit harder when you're trading hits with somebody a lot, and sometimes that's more important, so it's not like you have to get 50 CS or you're dead to the world, but getting 50 CS is very important. Always hit the range creep once if you have low damage. But as a whole, it looks like Wind Ranger's actually CSing quite well. So what's probably happening, why Velo here is not ranking up, because Velo's probably saying like, oh wow, I've got, you know, I'm last hitting better than my opponents, I'm getting my levels better than my opponents, I understand that I should pressure the anti-mage, why aren't I leveling up? And it's basically because you're not seeing the mistakes you're making. And that's something that literally all players who believe that they're in MMR hell need to work on. They are making mistakes, but they're not seeing what they are. They're seeing like, oh, this anti-mage got lucky, he dodged my power shot, or oh, that Crystal Maiden barely got away with 90 HP. What you need to be able to do is you need to understand the potential for min-max damage, and you need to say, did I do everything possible to get that kill? And that's what I do whenever I fail, or whenever I miss a kill, or whenever I die. Yeah, sometimes I'm like, wow, my teammates suck there. But that's more like releasing frustration. What you need to do is you need to watch a replay, and you need to see, did I cancel all my animations perfectly? Did I spend as least amount of time in my attack animation? Did I attack move perfectly? Did I manage my cooldowns perfectly? Did I bottle perfectly? Could I have been more efficient with my mana, which would have led me more mana for that kill? There's all these things that go into a hero not dying or dying that would have given you more tools and more leverage. This game, we could also criticize the Wind Ranger for saying, you know, she missed a couple last hits. Yeah, she's lasting really well now, and she's lasting much better than her peers, but did she get as much gold in the early game as she should have? If she did, yeah, okay, maybe we can't complain about it, but what if she got an extra 5 last hits early? She could have had boots before the Crystal Maiden did, and then it doesn't even matter if you're doing bad attack moving. You have a whole 50 movement speed advantage over your opponent. And then when you have a boots advantage over your opponent, and your attack moving, and they're just trying to run away, you basically stand right next to them the whole time. Like, literally, a Crystal Maiden running home to base with a Wind Ranger attack moving, you basically just attack and stand next to them the entire way back. And then there's no way they can get away from you. That's why movement speed advantage is so important. Because if you actually attack move properly, people just can't get away from you. So there's some heroes that can abuse that. Bloodseeker is one, for example. If you get a fast boots and they do less damage than you, you just chase them until they die. It's like one of those things about Dota. If you have more damage than your opponent, and you can run just as fast as, or you can run faster than them, then you basically chase them to the fountain. The only safe points they have are towers or fountain. So that's another thing to remember. I guess it's pretty much the same as what all the other things I've been saying, but it's like those simple, like honestly, I'll pause again, sorry. The biggest way to win a game is to just stomp in the first like 5 to 10 minutes just by having better lane mechanics than your opponents. And that's when knowing when to harass, when it's safe to harass, when it's not safe to harass. And especially if you do something weird that your opponents have never encountered before, like somebody being aggressive in a place where you feel like they're out of position, eventually you'll play against players who understand these situations better than you, and you feel like you're safe, and then they just own you, and you're like, oh, that was really stupid, and you'll learn from that, and you'll get better at the lane mechanics because of that stuff. But you need to be able to recognize your mistakes that you're making, otherwise you're always going to be in ELO hell. Not saying this guy said that he was, which I respect, but you have to understand why you're in a bad place, basically. He could have gotten that kill right there. Maybe. Let me see. Frostbite's level 2, so it's a pretty low cooldown. Uses Frostbite. Can't attack through this. This would have been a good time to power shot. I think the power shot first was fine, because Crystal Maiden was standing still. Attack. Power shot. Full damage. I would have attacked once here. And then casted Wind Run. Yeah, he could have killed this Crystal Maiden right here. It may have led to an anti-mage getting a kill, but he definitely could have killed Crystal Maiden. She's doing about 30 a hit, and Wind Ranger is hitting for like 80 damage, and Crystal Maiden has like 150. She had 4 seconds left on the Frostbite cooldown, and he had Wind Run, which meant that if anti-mage went aggressive, he could pop Wind Run and be safe for 3 seconds. So he definitely could have killed the Crystal Maiden there, and that would have put the Wind Ranger up to level 5. I'm sorry, 5 kills. If you just farm heroes, it doesn't matter if you kill last hits, or get last hits, basically. I feel like finishing phase boost before wand would have been better, personally. Yeah, level 1 shackle shot is just so bad. You're not going to get that kill ever. Using focus fire is fine. Like, they're pressuring the anti-mage, but he's still got 17 CS. He's actually doing decent, considering how well he's been pressured. Well, this is a waste of his time. You do not. This is not a... Yeah, don't do this, guys. This is really stupid. Like, what is he? Is he gonna die? Alright, this guy's really bad. He's actually so bad. I don't believe that's Miracle, guys. I think it's safe to say. That's another thing. I mean, he's probably learned that, wow, I can't actually take Hellbear Smashers when all I have is a Quelling Blade, a Stout Shield, and a Ring of Health, and I'm level 5. Turns out. But you'll learn that stuff, and you'll say, like, okay, it's not efficient for me to attack those. Maybe I could kill him first, but I would take a bunch of damage in doing it, and therefore it's not worth it. It's another thing you might learn. Now that he has phase boots, though, he can definitely pressure his opponents even harder. These basically offset any Stout Shield, because they do 24 damage. Block is only 16 now, so he can easily harass his opponents, especially Crystal Maiden here. She doesn't have boots yet, so attack Crystal Maiden, run away. This is a perfect time. He could have gone on her right there. She was in the middle of the creep wave. There was nothing around. And again, he realized way too late. This is when I would have started attacking. Right here. Boom. Creeps are really close to dying. This creep now just died. And now where's Crystal Maiden? Literally surrounded by 6 creeps. He could have just been attacking him this entire time. If he gets Frostbit and Anti-Mage blinks into melee range, that's when you wind run. You don't wind run against Crystal Maiden. Not worth it. Her damage is too low. This guy doesn't even have mana break, so it's not that big of a deal if he hits her now. But if he did have mana break, that's actually a pretty big threat for Wind Ranger. So you save Wind Run for the Anti-Mage's damage. It's just an easy conclusion to make. Instead, Wind Ranger's running. And I have like 2 seconds of running before she realizes, oh, Crystal Maiden's actually weak. She back. She feels vulnerability. He's reacting on her vulnerability. He's not seeing it for himself. If you don't see it for yourself, you're not getting that head start. Crystal Maiden could literally be at 300 damage right now. And Wind Ranger could be standing right here, is what could basically be happening. And look, that one hit did a ton of damage, and that's it. They got 1 right click in. That could have been like 6 right clicks. That could have been a dead Crystal Maiden. Again, Wind Ranger's trying to pressure the anti-mage, but in reality, you're not understanding the lane. You're not understanding the lane in a way that you need to. You need to understand when your opponents are weak, and you have to take advantage of that. It's good that I'm watching this, honestly, because it's something most, again, Crystal Maiden out of position. Look, she's about to aggro creeps. There's the aggro. Power shot's done. Just kill her. Please just kill her. Please just kill her. Okay, Crystal Maiden finally dies here. We're going to see the Anti-Mage die as well. And Wind Ranger probably felt really good about that, but honestly, they kind of threw themselves into you. That was like the 5th time or something that they put themselves in the middle of the creeps with no boots of speed. All they had was a ring of protection. Crystal Maiden was simply not going to survive there. Wind run and TP. That was a mistake. If you get ruptured, I mean, they're going to get a kill out of it, I guess, but that was kind of cute. I was like, dead. If a Bloodseeker ever ruptures you and you're a Wind Ranger, you got the easiest thing. You just press Wind Run and you TP. He can't stun you, he can't hit you while Wind Run's active, and you just get out. No damage is done. Yeah, he'll hit you with his Blood Rate, but no way that Wind Ranger should ever die in that circumstance if it's Soul Bloodseeker. Oh, that was actually really good. I know some players have been getting 2 wind runs on a Wind Ranger just because the extra second of duration is pretty nice. I think that's alright. I don't think that's that weird. The enemy slow is okay as well, 16%. But you definitely do need Shackle Shot. Again, Wind Ranger came top, getting decent last hits. Still kind of pressuring the Anti-Mage by being here, but again, Am's last hits are still decent. And he's also moving around the map a little bit to get last hits. I think what we're going to do is we're going to speed up heavily since the laning stage appears to pretty much be done. Now it's going to come down to Wind Ranger just last hitting. And she is rushing Nags, which I think is the right build. So at the very least, Wind Ranger's build and skill builds have been correct. That's definitely one thing that you can give her positive for. So maybe she's learning really well about the skill builds she should have, the item builds she should have, and I think she's been good on those. The only downside is her last hitting could be better, and her game sense needs to improve. And I keep saying her because it's a female hero even. I know it's probably not a female player in real life or something, but I just power shot. Ooh, almost a kill. And Rupture lasts for so damn long. So, like, this player has learned the item builds and their skill builds, and that may happen. This is something else to talk about, by the way. A lot of players will hop into a game like this and they'll be like, wow, I'm still 2k. Why am I still 2k? And they'll look at the obvious answers, the ones that aren't really real. They'll say, oh, my allies are doing bad. Let's look at the scoreboard. Wow, my Pudge has died 5 times. My Dazzle has died 4 times. I'm so unlucky. My Dazzle's an idiot. I always get crap players on my team. Look at him. He bought a headdress first. He got a Soul Ring. Soul Ring's just not a good Dazzle item. They'll look at stuff like that, and they'll say, like, these players, they have shitty skill and item builds. Like Mirana. Mirana got Starstorm at level 2 instead of Leap. This is why I'm losing, because my Miranas are always so bad. And yeah, that might be real. Like, they might be really bad at that one thing. But the Mirana may have better game sense than the Wind Ranger does. Like, right now, the lacking for Wind Ranger definitely is game sense. Like, yeah, she last hit way better than everybody else in the early game, and that's great. But she could have had 20 more last hits, and she could have had, like, 3 more kills. So what Wind Ranger needs to work on is her last hitting ability. Dazzle needs to work on his feeding ability. He's feeding too much. He keeps dying. Mirana needs to work on using her brain and getting the right skill build. You always get Leap at level 2. There's not really an excuse. Unless you're in like a 1v1 and scaling Starstorm and using it is going to change everything. You would always get Leap at level 2, for example. The PA has the worst fucking skill build I've ever seen. She maxed Blur out first. 50% evasion. Maybe if she was laning against the Clinks, that would be okay. But even then, you're not going to be able to dagger for last hits very much. So This guy sucks skill builds. But maybe the Phantom Assassin has really good game sense, or maybe he picks heroes that he feels really comfortable at and he only plays carry so he feels good at carry. I don't know, something like that. Everybody's at your MMR pretty much for a reason is what I'm trying to say. So don't blame it on like your Dazzle dying 3 times or something like that. That's not why you're losing. You're losing because you're not good enough, pretty much. You're not influencing the game in a strong enough way. If I was playing this Dazzle, I would probably have 10 more last hits and I would have probably 2 more kills and I would probably have no deaths if I was playing at a 2k MMR level because everybody I'm playing against is probably really weak, you know? Like every single one of these players, it doesn't matter if you're support, it doesn't matter if you're offlane, it doesn't matter if you're mid. You should be able to do better than you are currently doing, and you should be able to influence the game in a positive way that allows you to win MMR. It is some games you lose because somebody abandoned. Yeah, that happens sometimes. It happens in my games. It probably happens more at lower MMRs, but that is a small percentage. And to make things more extreme, they have up to 5 levers. Your team has up to 4 levers because you are never going to leave your game, right? If you abandon your game, I don't give a shit. You deserve it. Like, you lose your MMR. But if your opponents are going to leave and abandon and rage more often than you will, if you have control over your emotions. So there's a slightly higher chance of your teammates rage quitting and getting bad morale due to their players misbehaving. And hopefully you don't do that. If you do that, that's something else you maybe need to work on. Maybe you influence the game's morale in a negative way, which makes your teammates not play as smart and they focus on fighting instead of actually playing the game. So that's something else that can happen as well that you might need to work on. Easy win run away. I would have ran straight south. This is a bit of a waste, but definitely would have ran straight south. That would have been better. Juking in the trees isn't really needed unless you're anticipating somebody else to gank you, like a Crystal Maiden. If a Crystal Maiden's there, then I would juke because she would frostbite you, obviously. Therefore, juking gives you a slightly better chance. And actually, the best chance probably would have been if... I've never thought about this before, but if a Crystal Maiden juked you or something, you could run over here, go into the trees, and then power shot this way, and then just walk out this way. That would be a really cool juke. I would like that. Trading hits. Ooh, that was a kill. 100%. Yeah, that should have been a kill. Again, slightly late game sense. Didn't realize that she had a kill. Power shot hits the Clinks. That's good. Hits him. I would have moved to my left and shackled right there. Like, use win run. Already made the Clinks feel dangerous, and then he ran away. But again, what is going to happen in this duel lane? You got a Clinks who has 200 HP. You got an anti-mage who's level 8, doesn't have any items yet. Yeah, he can right-click you, but you still had win run. You used it now because you wanted to dodge the Clinks damage. But all you had to do was step to your left, shackle, and just focus fire him and he dies. Because he only had 200 HP. That's like, I don't know, 5 attacks or something like that. And you've got level 2 shackle shots at 2.25 stun. You can easily kill him. But instead, you waited like a second to disable your opponent or to cast anything, and you wasted wind run, which was your main defensive spell. Like, this is simply a case of not understanding who was weak in the duel lane and then reacting late. It's consistent, the mistakes that Wind Ranger here is making. Reacting late to opponents' vulnerabilities, and almost always it's as a result of them running away. You sense weakness when they run away, basically, but you need to learn to sense weakness when you see the weakness. Like, it's an anti-mage Clinks. They can't disable you. All they can do is do damage in a physical manner. And you have a counter. You have an invulnerability skill. You basically have, they can't do damage to me for 4 seconds. This is your last ditch resort. You use this when, oh, somebody's really gonna do a lot of damage to me, and I'm gonna completely evade it. It'll be really easy. You press W or E or whatever the heck your hotkey is, and you shackle shot the Clinks, and he dies, and there's literally nothing anti-mage can do about it. Instead, because you reacted so late, he pressed his skeleton walk. He actually finally realized, like, oh, I have 200 HP. I'm being a freaking idiot. I'm going to die. And then he finally pressed Shadow Walk. But you easily could have killed him there. You easily could have reacted to that and killed him first. Plus, you wasted more mana than you had to. You spent 100 mana on Wind Run. You shackled shot at him, and you also used Focus Fire. So you ended up spending like 300 mana just to try to kill the Clinks. But if you'd done it better, you just would have gotten a kill. That simple. So, all pretty big things. Here. Oh, it's a CM. Yo, this Purge actually has so much flesh heat. Why? No, you don't leap. That's wrong. Star Spin. Brave. That's weird. I couldn't see the animation. Yeah, I was gonna say Power Shot would have been really good there. Alright, that was good. Start right-clicking the Visage. Yo, this Purge is a master, dude. So it seems like Wind Ranger approximately knows how to use her skills, like, decently. But the problem is that she's not, her game sense is just weak, basically. It's good, focus by the tower, blah blah blah. Tower's killed, push the wave, we're good. Now she's almost out of mana. I honestly feel like I don't want to go over the rest of the game. I know this is a very long game, but the fact is that the biggest mistakes by far are the laning stage for Wind Ranger. And you might say like, but what about late game mistakes? And what about all these other mistakes? Like every Dota game that I play, I make hundreds of mistakes, literally hundreds of mistakes. Whether that's positioning, I didn't go somewhere when I should have, whether that's missing a pull, whether that is missing an auto attack, whether that is misusing a spell, wasting a spell, buying the wrong items. Every single player makes like literally hundreds of mistakes. In games like these, it's more like thousands of mistakes. But like the most important thing to this game is the early game by far. Like Dota is easily won in the early game. If you get like 8 kills and don't die in your offlane against the carry and the support, and you don't win your game, like, you know what, I'm gonna be like, all right, your allies really suck this game. But this game, everybody is doing well. They won the early game. They could have won the early game twice as hard, but they didn't. And that's like, if you just get an Aghanim Scepter at this point, like, what the hell do your opponents do to you? Like, you have so much HP, you have Focus Fire on a low cooldown, you do tons of physical damage. Like, it would give Wind Ranger such a big advantage. So I think what I'm going to do is, maybe we're just going to, like, speed watch the rest of it. Fights happening and blah, blah, blah. Let's watch a player perspective, I think. Pushing mid, getting last hits, pushing the tower, that's good and all. Yeah, that's, this shouldn't have happened. And this is the kind of stuff that people do to get back in the game. They basically just get kills. Shouldn't be pushing up this far. Yeah, you're winning the game, but that doesn't give you the right to do whatever the heck you want. 2 bats. They both stunned. She could have wanded, wind run, and TP'd right here. Easy. Instead, she ran out of the blood range. You know what else would have been good? Just standing to take the damage. Like, let's see how much rupture damage she took. She had 1186. Alright, 1108 was where she was. She got hit by one. She basically took like 800 points in rupture damage. You know what would have been less than that? Standing right here and taking like 200 pure damage buffed by like 30% or something like that. She would have taken far less damage if she just stood still and turned and fought the Bloodseeker. Like turned and fight him and like focus fire him while using Wind Run or something like that. She would have done way more damage. And it would have bought the Phantom Assassin more time to potentially kill the Bloodseeker. God, his build is so bad, but he could have killed the Bloodseeker. Like, look how low they got the Bloodseeker. Boom, boom. Like, he was already down to half. If you just stood still and bought your team like an extra second or two, they just would have had that kill. And Bloodseeker would have died before Wind Ranger did, and you would have made a play there. It's like, it's more gameplay mistakes. You could have escaped there. You have to look at that and say, like, could I have lived there? Both of the bats already stunned, and then it was just a Clinks and a Bloodseeker, neither of which have a stun. So you basically just pop your wand, pop your Wind Run, and TP out. Like, you should not be dying to Bloodseekers if they don't have a stun. Like, it's that simple. It just shouldn't happen. So that's probably what's going to happen for the rest of the game. People are going to make mistakes. They're going to get killed in situations where they shouldn't, and positions where they shouldn't on the map. And the Dire team's going to get back in this and eventually get enough items to win the game, is pretty much what happens. We'll jump forward heavily. This is also the wrong item build. This is an item build mistake. Wind Ranger shouldn't go for Deso. I think you either go for Daedalus or you go for a Mjolnir, and I think, or a Maelstrom. I think the Daedalus build is far better than one that crits, because it helps you kill your opponents. Let's see what the items are like on everybody. There's an MKB on the Clinks that makes things pretty hard, because that means Wind Ranger kind of has to beat him in a 1v1, and she doesn't have a solution if she gets Hex, or if she gets Silenced, so maybe she should also pick up a Ghost Scepter, would have been good to deal with him in the late game. Anti-Mage at this point is somehow caught up despite his atrocious start. And there's a Dagon on Visage, that's really weird, and Crystal Maiden is somehow recovered with the Shadow Blade. Like, these heroes should never recover. You should have wrecked them so bad that they literally have no items for the rest of the game, and you should probably pick up something like a Blink. Like, considering how good Wind Ranger did early, it's really disappointing that it's 36 minutes. This is all she has. I feel like she should have gotten her Ags before 20 minutes, and then she should have had a Daedalus by like 26 minutes or something like that, and then had like been working on it. I guess she has like 2k gold here, but the Deso is not the right choice. It's not an item that you want. You buy Ags to boost up your damage, but also so that the passive like crits and lightning procs don't get reduced damage. That's really the main reason the Ags is first purchased, originally, those procs did more damage, and Daedalus is the one to go for. It just does so much damage. It would basically allow her to kill anybody on the enemy team with like 2 seconds of focus fire. So improper item build, definitely there. And they also should have gone high ground and gotten Arax at some point because they had such a big advantage. How's Pudge doing? I want to see how much flesh strength this guy has. Like, this guy did so well for a roaming, honestly. It's kind of crazy that this guy lost the game. I feel like he played the best on his team. What's the flesh strength? I guess we don't get to see it until he kills somebody since I jumped forward in the replay. That's what it seems like. Looks like even the bottom has really good items, but why does she look so weird? Oh, it's just the face she was making. Yeah, the game should have never gone to here. Like, Anti-Mage is the most CS by far. Like, the Radiant team obviously just lost their farming ability as well. Like, it appears that they probably, my guess would be they ran around the map heavily and look for kills. Like, there's actually so many kills this game. It's actually a ridiculous amount of kills. And Anti-Mage probably just farmed the whole time. Like, I just can't believe there's so many kills happening. This is ridiculous. There shouldn't be this many kills happening. And they shouldn't be trades. They should be consistently in your favor, basically.
Killing spree. Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
Like, this partially comes down to your team starting bad fights. But regardless, you still shouldn't be going into those kind of bad fights. I don't know. I don't even want to go over the late game stuff because we could talk about it for literally 30 minutes to 3 hours or something like that. So I think I'm just going to end the video here. I hope you learned a lot, Velo, about your laning stage. That's by far your biggest mistake at the moment. Your late game seems to have some issues, at least in farming. Seems like you're dropping off in farm. It's 22 minutes here and your CS has only gone up by about 10, which I think is a mistake. I know it's not the easiest thing to farm with Wind Ranger in the late game, especially on neutral camps and stuff, but you can do it. And you need to increase that ability by a little bit. What you basically can do is you can push with like 2 or 3 heroes, like sit Dazzle behind you. If you're really, really far ahead, you should have an Ags by now. Definitely have an Ags by now. I can't believe that she doesn't. She actually does, and it's about 70 gold. So finishes the Ags. Then you're really tanky, you're really hard to kill. Keep sentries down, spot for your opponents. There's a lot of little things that are kind of hard to like generalize, but it basically comes down to team movements, and that's hard to do with your teammates. That requires more like teamwork direction to make sure your allies are doing the right things in addition to you, but you can do that once you start understanding them. But the laning stage is by far the biggest mistake that you made. You should have been able to get like 8 kills in your lane instead of just the 2 or 3 that you got. So focus on pressuring the lanes and do it better than you were doing it previously, and I guarantee your MMR will go up simply because you're going to win early games better. And then after you're in the advantage, this is the important part, make sure that you direct your team to not play like idiots. If you're winning, you don't just stand around and continue to farm when your opponents have Bloodseeker and Clinks and an Anti-Mage. Anti-Mage is basically going to free farm the whole time because you guys aren't executing good ganks probably. And the Bloodseeker and the Clinks are going to continue moving around the map and getting kills. And you can't let that happen. Having good ward vision is important. Having sentries down near where you expect the Clinks to gank is really important. Defending towers is really important, and then pushing towers as a group with sentries is really important, because if you do that correctly, then you're probably going to win team fights. You're probably going to then take a tower afterwards. You're going to defend your towers, so you're going to continue getting more and more gold advantage, whereas in this game, you only have a really piddly 5k gold advantage. You guys should be just stomping this game based on how the game was going at like 12 or 14 minutes or something like that. So you should take those advantages, and you should push in the late game very simply with wards and sentries and Roche and going high ground. And this team really can't do anything to defend against you. Like, they have really poor team fight. It's basically like Bloodseeker. The only way that this team wins a team fight against you guys is if Clinks comes from the back line and you guys don't have detection and he kills everybody. Like, look at this guy. He's building double jab. He actually built MKB first or something. That's crazy. It's terrible. Should have been able to win this game, even though you did lose it. So early game pressure, that's the most important thing. Laning should be won a lot harder than it was. All right, thanks for watching, guys. That was a coaching video for Velo that he submitted to me on Reddit. You can send them to me on Twitter or other places. I'll probably do these more often because it's kind of fun to criticize people. All right, thanks for watching. I will see you guys later. Bye.